This is like the don't do drugs commercial.
Right.
I should have opened with the disclaimer. This is probably not the message you
Pass
were
the
looking
message
for.
warning. Spending $30,000 in one weekend could leave you in extreme financial debt. Please spend responsibly. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pass the Message, where we give you real talk and relevant life hacks for you to learn, apply, and share with your social circles. I am your host, Jeff J, and today we're going to talk about debt and money management with one of my good friends, a good brother who I've been around the world and back again on the digital landscape, from blogging to social media, podcasting, and everything in between. He is the host of Paychecks and Balances and the author of Debt Free or Die Trying. Welcome, my man, the Marcus Garrett. Marcus, what's going on?
Appreciate you, man. I'm glad I done made it to the mountaintop, man. I appreciate the invite.
Yes, sir. You already know. And before we go on, I appreciate all of you who have been giving me feedback on the show, who have liked, commented, and subscribed to the YouTube page, who have followed us on Past Message Show on Instagram and Twitter, and who have shared it and shared personal messages with me. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, was to help people who cares about the views, who cares about the listens. But I'm glad you guys are applying it. So thank you so much. I got a good dude, like I said, here today to talk to you and to share all the gems that he has about getting out of debt and making your money work for you. So before we go on, don't feel like reading bios no more. Shout out to feedback, because the feedback said, yo, Jeff, we don't really need to hear the bios like that no more from you. We want to get into the meat. So that's why I put the onus on my guests. Give us your quick elevator pitch, Marcus, about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, I didn't know you was going to open up with that pressure dialogue right there. So I try to, keep this on 120 seconds, because I don't need you to, get them angry inboxes.
No,
them
30
angry
seconds.
grams.
30 seconds, bro. You got it.
So I've been an auditor for 15 years. I've been in this personal finance space for about 10 years. So I was a nerd before being a nerd was cool. I'm glad everybody finally caught up.
Amen.
I did the financial analyst thing. You already know.
Oh, of course.
I did the data analyst thing. I still kind of do in the data side. That's kind of where I play. But people know me in the streets. I'm a new audience now. You never known until you're known. And it's the first time they know me. Right. But do Paychecks and Balances. That's kind of where people know me in the E Street. So we help millennials make money, save money, and get out of debt. Lift your paychecks, raise your balance, or get your balances down. So you can find that on where your platform is, pretty much any podcast, bootleg, or otherwise.
Yes, sir. Yeah, let's not raise those balances unless we got other checks to knock them right back down on the ground, right? So,
yes,
like
sir.
I said, this brother, he kind of sells himself short a little bit. That's why I'm here. I'm the ultimate hype man to hype him up and let you know that his book, Debt Free or Die Trying, is #1 currently in the professional finance?
Personal budgeting.
Yes, sir.
I don't blame you. Amazon got about 500,000
calories.
Bro,
it's like YouTube hashtags. I was like, damn, he's #1 in something.
Yeah. So you got to choose all that behind the scenes. They're like, what do you want to rank in? And then they got 75 things that you want to rank in. You
Podcast
can choose 2.
Same way.
So I appreciate y'all. The fans of Paychecks and Balances pushed that up to #1 in the Kindle store, man. And then I was like #4 on like money management or something to that effect. So, appreciate y'all. I clap, but this is in the way right
here. Oh,
right.
Prayer
hands. You know what it is.
Sound check. You don't want to get it back up. But yeah, man, it's just like, It's good to have him here. We've definitely we blogged together. We won awards. He's continued to win awards. Paycheck and Balances. We was at FinCon. Y'all won that last award, right?
Yes, sir. This award for best millennial or Gen Z blog for 2019.
Right. And here's the thing. And I'll let you definitely give the meat to my appetizer. This is the good appetizer that y'all don't just say, oh, another fucking salad, right? So. Paychecks and Balances, I've been listening since they were two guys, one show.
Something like that.
He said, maybe not.
There was back in the
day, my political collects name, I might have to bleep that. But like when their original show, where it was a variety show, and then the meat of their show, well, actually the side dish was actually the main course that your fans wanted to hear. And through metrics and all of that, you knew. And what was the one thing that caused you, besides metrics, what caused you to say, yo, this is what we should be doing?
So shout out to my co-host, Rich Jones. I mean, that's what we wanted to talk about. So Rich was in HR and career. That's his expertise. You know, we senior millennials, so we got a decade in the game. I've been a, career auditor, career data analyst, career financial analyst. So we wanted to talk about money and work. You know, we're now work, money, life.
Of course.
Yet we were terrified to do so because we're like, ain't nobody going to listen to that, every episode. And like, to your point, every time we did an episode about money, or at that time I was struggling. I had, paid off debt. I was talking about writing the book and the journey to get out of debt at that time. Like, it was like a hockey stick, you know what I'm saying? People were tuning in, forwarding it to friends and everything like that. And like you said, I'm a data analyst, Rich is in HR. Like, you got to go where the data takes you. And then we were like, what if we niche down? Rich came to the idea first because, I didn't believe it.
Right.
He was like, what if we niche down and talk about money and work every week? And I was like, ain't nobody going to listen to that. But, whatever. You the podcast expert, you the tech expert. Tell me which mic to get. You're looking at it right here.
Word.
And we started that, I think, 3 years into podcasting, and we did more downloads in 3 months than we had done like in 3 years previously. So that's why it's the alter ego. We scrapped the show that you're talking about and became Paychecks and Balances full time.
Well, that's one lesson already that we've learned. Follow your passions, not the path to glamour. Because your original podcast was in a lane everybody's in. Entertainment, recaps, trending topic discussions where a lot of people are in. And we need that conversation. But if it wasn't for the nudge, because if one thing you'll learn about Marcus is very pragmatic. And you, just like we're both from auditing backgrounds, right? We need to see the work. You need to show us X, Y, Z. I might be a little more ambitious in terms of my dreams and like believability of something and stuff, like, because I'm the fuck it, man, we don't just do it. But Marcus is like, yo, how? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. But then when you saw it, and this was something that was second nature to you, like this is what you do, so it was natural to you. So you do what's natural for you, and you follow your passion regardless of what you think is going to happen. Like what, like fame or downloads or anything like that. Because think about it. You would do this. You literally do this for money, but you would do it for free because this is what you're passionate about.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk about this later in the show. I have a mentor, former supervisor / mentor, become friends, that has talked to me for years, maybe a decade, maybe 15 by this point. And I was talking to him recently about, just kind of how the Paychecks and Balances, which is a business now, we incorporated, we got serious about this, got a tax ID and everything.
EINs, shout out to the EINs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he was like, tell me about the job. And I was like, boom, 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 working the data this, spreadsheets, that, Excel, that, you know how it go. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yo, tell me about the business. I'm like, yo, I'm clapping. I'm excited. I was like, we're going to talk. I'm going to be a guest on Jeff's show. Like, and he's like, you're passionate about this business. Like, why aren't you doing it full time? And that's kind of where I want to move to in the long run. But like I said, you need somebody who believes in you, who sees in you, like you're saying. Like, I don't see those things in myself. For a long time, I didn't consider myself an auditor, and I've been doing it for 15 years. Like you said, I got out the game. They dragged me back in like the mafia.
Right.
But I'm good at it, man. I hate to admit it, but I'm a systems guy. I'm a process thinker. I believe the evidence. A saying that I said at like 27, I still quote to this day is, use facts to form opinions, not opinions to form facts. And you see a lot of people using opinions to form facts these days. Like, I was saying that back before hashtag fake news and all that. And I didn't realize that was a skill set, to use evidence to make decisions. And then ultimately, I wrote a very sloppy book about it, which was Debt Free or Die Trying: How I Buried Myself in $30,000 and Got Out by Age 30. That was edition number 1. And it did okay. Don't get me wrong. I released it under the depth of night because, like all things, I'm like, ain't nobody gonna read this, man. But dropped the remix recently. Got with an editor to make it more systems. Calls to action. Yeah. How can you move from goal? Everybody got a goal of being out of debt, and everybody got a goal of being rich. But how do you do it? How do you go from the New Year's resolution every year to snotting on the gram with the actual evidence? So actual evidence, not like something that somebody getting paid to be in the G4 or the G5.
I hear that. And that's another lesson for you. Invest in yourself, because as someone who published a book, like self-published, you don't catch everything. Like, I thought I combed through that damn Word doc like 85 million times, and then it's still like a spacing issue when you convert or something nasty like that. So definitely invest in yourself. So let's get into the heart of the matter. Let's get into debt free or die trying, right? So as I've told you before, and for those of you who follow me on Twitter at Jeff J Says and at the Marcus Garrett with 1 T on Twitter, because they are haters.
Ran out of characters. Ran out
They're
of
haters.
Man.
But this is actually you call this Godfather Part 2, right? This is actually the second run, and because pick the retrograde you want, right? Something happened wrong, but I told them the first time we ran this, your story about how you got into debt to me is still like one of the most epic stories I've heard in terms of blowing money. Like, I'm talking about, I've been at the craps table in Vegas where I've seen $10,000 disappear in the span of 3 rolls. I've seen people blow money in weekends that I just wondered what their bills were like, because mine weren't shaped up like that. Like, I'm in the fetal position. But so just to give some highlights, you graduated with $9K in debt. Shout out to the predatorial credit card industry that entices you with T-shirts and shit to go into debt. But you went $9K in debt, and in a weekend, from $9K to $26K, including buying a $13,000 car, and I quote, with rims.
With rims.
Right? So first, I already know what the motivation for the book was, clearly, after I read that, right? But tell me, if it's not the car, in retrospect, looking back, what was the one purchase you made where you were like, yo, I would have did it again. I'd do it twice on Sunday. Ain't no way I would have changed that.
It's a difficult question. It's actually more difficult than people realize. And I mean, I got a shout out for people who want to read the full story. I want to shout out Very Smart Brothers. They didn't come a long way in both seeing their journey, but you can Google or you can go right to the website. Is how I got $26,000 in debt in less than 72 hours. So they let me tell a 1,500 word story of how many words are in the book. And share that with their people, and it did pretty well. Put me on the map.
Guess what?
To answer your question, it's like the timelines that we were talking about, because it's like, if I did not get $30,000 in debt and I didn't buy the $13,000 car with rims, 17s,
that's very respectable, by the way, not to cut you off, but it's that's when he has class, because you don't go for the 20. Like, he's from a state where they can drive around with that and not worry about potholes and whatnot, bending them and then having to pay for them to get reshaped. But 17 on the right car, 17s can look like 70s. So that's how I know this is really a car dude right here.
You know what I'm saying? And that hasn't changed much. We'll hit that topic again. That's thematic in my life. And I say that because I don't know that I would change anything. First of all, it was a fantastic weekend. So, that's what I talk about in the book. And I've had a lot of time to think about this. I graduated school at 22, 37 now. And so that weekend was 22-ish, because I turned 23 that year. And it was epic, man. It was epic. Like, there was a lot of blue bottles. Like, in the music videos where the dude walks out, there's like dollar bills like falling in his face in slow motion, and he like pointing at people, and everybody know him and everything. Like, that was me. That was me.
Make It Rain. That's actually the Make It Rain.
Yes, And so I reflect back on that at 22, and I was like, I don't know that I would change anything from the perspective of how much I enjoyed it, how much fun I had, just the pure emotional adrenaline. And the crazy thing is, and this is how I know I ain't got money, it's hard to spend $30,000. Like, I woke up Sunday with more money. Like, it wasn't all gone. That's why I bought the car.
Right.
It's actually very hard to spend $30,000. And so people apparently do it, but like, I was exhausted. I might even still be tired from that weekend. I got backaches and pains to this day, and it might trace back to that weekend. And so I don't know that I would change anything. Not that I'm encouraging this, and this is not, this is like the don't do drugs commercial.
Right.
I should have opened with the disclaimer. This is probably not the message you were looking for.
Pass the message warning. Spending $30,000 in one weekend could leave you in extreme financial debt. Please spend responsibly.
the more you know. So let me do the math for you. So it took me 7 years, to get out of that 72-hour weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to live for 72 hours and spend the next 7 years paying for it, maybe this is the route for you. I don't know. So you got to hear both sides. You got to hear both sides.
Exactly. And my brother, I'm going to condense this because, as always, he says that this is the most painful part to talk about when he knew that shit got real. So to summarize, I know you speak about how you applied for a consolidation loan, a $10K consolidation loan to combine his debt and be able to pay it off as one chunk. And this was an institution that you banked with for a minute. And it was kind of like Jon Snow, who's pre-resurrection in Game of Thrones, when he got like it's almost like you turned your back, like et tu, Brute, and it was like that was like the moment. So what was it like for you because I feel like as young men, you're bulletproof and you think that nothing is going to affect you. So that wake up call, what was like your immediate reaction, and when did you get to say, all right, today is the day, I'm locking down. We're gonna find these systems and we're gonna make this happen.
So, I don't know why y'all keep making me retell this story.
I didn't make you retell it. I brought you to the 1 yard. I handed it to Marshawn.
I feel the pain and the drilling and the ache in my pain. So I get stress anxiety in my neck, and I feel it back here, man. And so it's still in the book. It's rock bottom. It's the rock bottom chapter. And for me, I'm 27 years old. I'm working 3 jobs. 5 years removed from that bottle night.
Word.
A lot less friends, because when the money ran out, the friends run out. And maybe I didn't call them friends. I just called them friends at that time.
Right.
Day one still around, so shout out to them. And like you said, I missed one payment on a credit card that I had banked with since age 18, actually. It was one of the first ones I signed up for. And the interest rate jumped overnight to 29%.
That's
and
insane.
I don't remember what it was, and it's irrelevant because I wasn't going to be able to make the payment.
Mm-hmm.
And it became very clear that month that I wasn't going to be able to make any payments. It got to a point where now I'm looking at the bills and it's like, okay, who gets paid this month? Does electricity stay on? Does rent get covered? Does the car note get paid? This 29% interest card ain't getting paid. I don't care what happened there. They not getting paid because I don't have 29% interest money.
Listen, a lot of us wasn't there, like, fortunate in terms of it was like our reality show, Pick the Bill. It's like tonight, 2 of you will move on and be up to date, and 1 of you will be delinquent.
You know what I'm saying? This is the dramatic Bachelor Rose music. Come on. Like,
right. Will you accept this check?
Left. Yeah, exactly. Like, that was my rock bottom moment. I remember talking to the call center guy, and he was asking me what I now see as basic questions. He's like, what's your credit score? I had no idea. I'd never seen my credit score in my life. I was 27 years old. And he was like, well, how much debt do you have? I had no idea how much total debt I had. I actually think he had to tell me. And he was like, well, how much are you paying each month? And there was no question he asked that I could answer. And it got to a point where somewhere in that call, I had the realization that if he says no, like, bankruptcy is a short route, hop, skip down the road, because I can't pay my bills. I'm working 3 jobs. There's only so many hours in a day.
Right.
And at some point I had that wake up call I had that wake up call during that call and felt that maybe that same anxiety in my neck, that cold sweat kind of coming up, like, I need this. Yes. Like an addict, like I was addicted to credit. Like, I need this man to say yes, because I don't know what my next fix or hit will be. And in fact, I've crapped out, going back to your casino table.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately they did. I don't even know what interest rate they hit me over the head with, but it was less than 29, but not like something I was happy about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I did not leave that call excited.
Right.
And I just remember, I remember this because I was sitting on my floor, probably on bended knee, on some Boys to Men. And I was just like, never again. I'll never put myself in this situation again. I don't know what it's going to take. I didn't know at that time I was starting a debt-free story that ultimately became the book, but I was like, I'll never be in this position again.
Word. Listen, man, at that point, it's like you take that approval and run like a thief in the night, regardless. It's one of those, I'll figure it out tomorrow. And I think your story, let me not qualify. Your story is a story of perseverance, a story of realization, and a story of applying your will to a situation where you said, hey, I was acting like this, I had these habits, and now it was time to change, right? In these days, though, with everything that we're dealing with the quarantine and COVID and all of that, 36 million people have filed for unemployment. People are being furloughed. Some people their whole industries are changing. There's that aspect where a lot of people are in a bad shape. On the other hand, there's people who are able to do their jobs remote 100% of the time. Their jobs may be on hiring or firing freezes, and business as usual can still commence. So working at home, you might have a little bit more money and extra income that you can utilize to perhaps pay off debt. So I want to get from your perspective, paying debt during an emergency situation, because in good times, in times of comfort and convenience, pay off your fucking bills. But what about in unprecedented times like this? What is your perspective on it? On paying off debt in these times?
So I'm gonna hit it two ways, and I'm gonna open with don't to get the clear point across. And I say that because I would start with figuring out your options. There's a lot of options right now, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know them all because of the situation I put myself in now. I've been fortunate that I don't have to consider all the options available. But when I say options, what I'm talking about is, does your mortgage lender, and I always say contact the lender, and whomever the lender is, credit card lender, loan lender, auto loan, contact your lender. They're the ones that are supposed to know. But you also need to know, similar to my call center call, what all your options are, because they are a business and they make revenue and you are the revenue generator. So they might not tell you all the options. So a good Google search and what is on the table. There's furloughs for school loans. I know there's deferment payments that that Congress has passed, but the lender doesn't have to adopt. I actually found this out from a news story. The lender doesn't have to adopt everything that Congress passes. It's still up to the lender. And so like some of the 401k examples
but I'm sure there's a lot of public and political pressure that would behoove them to adopt it, but that doesn't mean they're obligated. That's big.
Yes. So I would know and put all my options on the table. Essentially, I'm saying be informed. So with that information, because it's going to be unique to every situation, I'd move forward from there. But what I would say and why I open with don't is I'm practicing myself and recommending to others, cream, cash rules everything around me right now. Like, pay yourself first. That was like a bumper sticker, like before all of this crisis. But I think it is like a mantra, get it tattooed on your forehead or whatever you got to do now, because MasterCard is going to be okay at the end of this. And what I'm not encouraging, I don't want people to hear is like, oh, well, Marcus said I ain't got to pay the minimum. I'm good. Because then you'll be in that 29% situation I'm talking about. But if you were practicing a debt snowball or a debt avalanche or a debt whatever, I don't know that I would be paying extra on debt right now, because if you lose a job or you've already lost a job, you will that much more quickly spiral back into debt. So I'll be paying the minimum on those things and the maximum to my banking account, the maximum to my savings account, until I have whatever the metric is that I find secure, which for me, I actually just moved up to 12 months of income. I used to have 2 months. I was like, everything good. We straight. Like when this crisis hit, I was on vacation. I think I was quite literally on a beach.
Yo, wasn't you and Rich on vacation during this?
Yes, we was off. The show was off.
Yo.
And like,
yeah, I'm looking at your IG. I'm like, yo, y'all gonna get back in y'all states? Like, how they go on vacation? Literally, just world started ending when you stopped your podcast. A metaphor.
Yeah. We had planned, so few people can relate to this, like pre-planned. We had planned this vacation like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm on my little 18-hour flight, and, it was at that point, it was March. It was like March 1st, which seems like 2 years ago.
Where'd you go, Bali?
Yeah, it was starting to bubble up. I went to Bali, and it was starting to bubble up. Like, the first cases were like in January. They're like, people got the sniffles, the allergies. People allergies is acting up.
Little tussin, they be all right.
Yeah, by February they're like, we might cancel a few things. A couple things might not. By March when we were on vacation, they're like, we're not letting people back in the United States. And there was a point, like I'm trying to, I'm on, my little eat, love, pray tour, and I'm like trying to enjoy myself. There was one point because before even this decision, my girl was like, yo, you're going to get an international data plan. I'm like, for what? I don't need to talk to nobody. I mean, I was on a family trip, so I'm like, everybody need to know me. Y'all got, my life, my will, and all that. Y'all know if I don't make it back, you could tell people. Mm-hmm. I had turned my phone off for like the first 2 days of the trip. And I was like, but there's like 20 people on this trip. And so they're like, yo, they're not letting people back in the state. They're like, the rumors are swirling. So I'm like, all right, let me turn my phone on. Jeff, you ever turn your phone on like after an emergency and it's just for about 20 minutes, I was like, and it was just check like, yo, are they going to let you back? Or yo, what's going on? Are you alive? Are you dead? Should we say a prayer? Can I have your TV? It rate like every message you could think of, like, yo, do you still need a car? Man, I can drive it around for you. And jokes aside, I'm like, man, like, am I going to have to start a new life in Bali? Like, do I need to, like, yo, what's good? And another thing that's like interesting about this situation financially is I had coincidentally moved some money around, and I everybody else is like
legally
losing money.
Yes. Legally.
Yes.
All right.
Let's move some money around for the trip.
Yeah.
I wanted some cash, and people were losing their head. I couldn't do anything if I wanted to. All I had was janky Wi-Fi. Like, I wanted to move some money around. I'm talking about stocks and investments and stuff like that, but I couldn't. Like, I couldn't even log in. I don't know my passwords. I had to find a Google Chrome. If it wasn't for Chrome, I wouldn't know nothing.
Right.
And so, like, all I could do was watch from afar. And the world, it felt like, was ending around me. And there was several situations where it's like, am I going to be allowed back into the United States? No joke. I say this dead face, eyes in the camera. Like, I did not know at certain points on certain days. We were gone for 10 days. Like, am I going to get back home?
And nobody knew. On this side, nobody knew, because once they shut everything down, it was like, all right, so we got loved ones in Europe. We got loved ones in Asia. Like, what's going to happen? Or is Asia going to kick them out? Like, yo, we don't want this in our country. Is the U.S. going to be like, yo, y'all better stay overseas? Like, what's going to happen? It was as uncertain for us as it was for y'all. But of course, y'all was heightened because you're like, I want to go back to my home state.
Well, yes and no. It was weird, and maybe people who were international at that time can relate to this. It was interesting watching, because all we had was the international perspective of the United States. And so everybody in the U.S., like, while y'all was running out of toilet paper and like supply runs on antibacterial and everything like that, like, all I could do was watch on my phone. You ever just watch a tragedy, which I would call this, unfold on your phone? I got this little 4-inch screen. That's all I got. That is my only view into the world of what was going on, quite literally across the pond. And it was pretty surreal. It felt like, I told my boys when I finally logged in, I thought I was going to come home like on 28 days when he's walking through the streets and it's just newspapers.
Yeah.
Tumbleweeds. I was like, what? They were worried about me. I'm like, yo, good luck to y'all, man. Y'all in the epidemic. Mm-hmm. I'm on an island. Mm-hmm. And it was a crazy situation, man. Like, I now on the other side, and quite literally back to the United States, this situation, and I'm not going to, do comparative Olympics and anything like that, but it's a mental, physical, financial, perhaps even spiritual game changer for me. Like, I won't walk away from this the same. I can't, I won't. It's just, it's a new age, and I don't know what the new normal is. We're all experiencing this at the same time. But I do know I'll circle back to the question, like, what would I do? I'd stack cash unless I already had 12, 16, 18 months. Because when I had 2 months, I was like, that got me for about 10 years. I had a 2-month emergency fund. I put like 80%. I was doing like an 80-20. So I'd put most of it in the stock market, live on cash, pay off all credit cards every month, because of the situation I put myself in. When when you're at the fear of losing your job, 2 months ain't nothing. Can you imagine like, oh man, it's cool. I got cash for 2 months. Like, and it's for, like other people are going through 0 months or,
Go like that.
the way someone described it to me is there was no ramp up or down opportunity. There was, even with the housing crisis, like as bad as it was, you saw it coming. The .com boom and bust, like it boomed and bust. And like, really, if you didn't own .coms or work in tech, it was like, well, that sucks for California and the tech industry, and you went back to work. Like here, the world arguably it was cool on Monday. And then Tuesday, it was 28 days later,
Bro, and I could tell you from the perspective, just because you wasn't here, it literally was like every disaster movie that you watch. You hear the initial news in January about this coronavirus breaking out in China. You're like, oh, they're going to be all right. Hopefully they'll be good. Then February, you hear more. Then randomly this cancels, that cancels. Then in March, it's holy shit, coronavirus is in America. By mid-March, we're optional work from home or suggested work from home. Next day, New York State is locked down. We're going into a stay-at-home order. Like, and the wildest part about that was we were behind the curve. We were were reactive. We should have did that when the first cases came out. And it just went from being at home and like, we'll be back in a month to, yo, I don't think I'm going to see y'all until Labor Day. So trust when you say there was no ramp up, ramp down, there was no ramp, fam. There was no ramp. We just went off the cliff. You feel me?
I remember, you just reminded me, actually. I probably need to write this down because, you're losing track of the time.
Journal it, bro.
It's all coming together. I remember, I forgot. You just reminded me. The day after I went on vacation. So I took a buffer day, it's 16-hour flights. I took a buffer day to get ready for the trip. An email came out from my job that effectively said international travel is banned. Like, you good? Like, no. I had to email my boss and I was like, I'm talking about 6 p.m. I'm flying out at like 7 a.m. tomorrow. I'm like, if I take this trip, do I have a job when I return? And it wasn't no quick response. I'm sure he ran it through several chains of command and legal and HR. And I'm not going to say what he said.
They banned it not only for the company, but for the individuals.
Yes.
Ultimately,
it turned out to be, there was a loophole in there that was not implied in the email. And I'm not going to go into all the details.
Right.
Some people were looking out for me, and I ain't going to lie, I called in some favors. I was like, yo, talk to him. Talk to him. Like, yo, like, there ain't no refund on this trip.
We'll go big implications on that, brother.
And even before then, and I remember, actually, I had to eat crow tongue, whatever you want to call it. Like, I had to apologize to my homeboy because some people might have made this mistake. I sent that long thread of like all the disasters that occurred before, like SARS. It's a long, they've been trying to kill me for a long time.
There's epidemics every year.
Yeah. And I sent him that, and I was like, man, we good, bro. You because he was tripping. And I'm like, well, actually, he was right. So, and he was like, man, this is different, man. And he literally texted me, and he's not a long-winded guy. He texted me 3 words or 4 words. He was like, this is different. Mind you, this is 2 days before my trip. I'm like, man, whatever. Right. I'm taking this trip. I wish somebody would try to stop me because they ain't paying my credit card bills. And like, I owed him, but like, he never, and that's how you know he's a good friend. It's one of my day ones. He never threw it in my face.
He didn't. I told you so. You up?
But I mind you, this is the Rona. This ain't really something. But he was just like, I got back and I was like, yep, look, man, you was right about that Rona, man. It was actually some world-ending thing. He just kind of looked at me. He's like, yeah, I told you
humble
this was
yourself.
And I guess the takeaway from here is, if I'm a systems guy and I consider myself one from the audit background and the data analysis, is I feel that anyone that says with a straight face that they know what's going to happen now or next is a bold-faced liar. You should stop listening to that person because no one knows. You can make informed guesses and you can look at the data and you can make perspective analysis about what might take place.
Yep.
But that's all you can do is educated guess about what might take place. And I mean financially, spikes, or or whether it's going to go away or whatever the case may be. And so I really feel like I've been in a very unique situation. Now, I don't know what I can bring to the table. I'm still trying to figure that out like everybody else. But when I wrote the first book, for those people doing the math at home, I was 27 in the 2008-2009 housing crisis. So that's why I know what it's like. I was furloughed 6 or 7 times at that time. I know what it's like to not know if or when your next paycheck's going to come while I have $30,000 of debt hanging over my head. And I had just moved for a job because I was living paycheck to paycheck and I needed money. They offered me a raise and it had a 6-month probation. No guaranteed extension. Ultimately, I ended up getting that job for 7 years. But I had to take that chance because of that 72-hour weekend with the blue bottles and the $30,000. So again, these choices you make in the present will impact you in the future. And if I was to offer some hope or shed some light on this, me sitting here, having made it back from Bali and having paid off that $30,000 in debt, whatever timeline that you want to work from or start from, does prove that you can make it to the other side. So while I do not know what will happen, and I can honestly say that, and I would doubt others who say otherwise, I can say that when I got knocked down, I got back up.
Facts. And
I made it to the other side. And I'm here, doing this show and talking about these opportunities. And I have that evidence to sort of perspective and calmness in all of this chaos.
Right.
That's what it is.
Word. That's a mantra, man. That's a mantra and a life lesson. So before we wrap up this topic, let's go into you talked about debt snowball, debt avalanche, and all of that, but you have a pretty straightforward plan that you outlined, your debt plan. Can you break that down to us quickly, and of how, if let's say for someone who has the income and they have the 12 months stacked of expenses and 12 months worth of salary and whatnot, and they're like, yo, I just need to get this debt out of here. Break it down real quick, highlight that debt program and how people can follow that in order to pay their bills and get out of debt.
So Debt Free, the new book, is a 4-step plan. Debt is an acronym. So the D is define the problem. E is establish a repayment plan. And I walk through all of those. I go through debt snowball. I go through debt avalanche. I go through whatever, which is the plan that I use. That I just threw whatever money I had available at it. And what I kind of emphasize, it's actually the most important chapter. I'm going to come back this towards the end of the show. It's the plan. I'm an auditor. The plan, the system. How are you going to succeed at the goal? If the goal is to be debt free, what are you going to be putting in place to make sure you get there instead of just declaring it every New Year's resolution and then forgetting about it by February? And so establish the plan is the most important part to me. Then you build a budget around ensuring that your success. I talk about a number of automated tools that I use. I'll just go ahead and name drop. I still use Mint, but I'll go ahead and hit, you need a budget. Like, to me, and thematically throughout the book, the plan doesn't matter. The plan that works is the best plan. Mm-hmm. So tailor my book, any book you want to read. I've read 15. Actually, I'm at 18 now, and you can read all my reviews of those. I read 18 money books just to make sure that my book hit what I wanted my plan to be. And you can find that at paychecksandbalances.com/books for free. And then T is trust the process. So define the plan, define the problem, establish a plan, build a budget, trust the process.
That's what it is. So you got a great foundation from Marcus on how to get out of debt, establish what you're going to do, and make a plan. And real talk with everything that's going on today and what your mentality should be and how you can operate around that. So that's why I had this brother on and to drop that knowledge for us. Now, we're going to continue the knowledge sharing going on because that's Marcus the professional. Now we're getting into Marcus the man and how those two interact. You know what I'm saying? So first we got the skills challenge, where I ask all my guests to give me a transferable skill, a skill that you have within yourself that you feel like our listeners or any one of us can apply. For example, I would say, I always use this example when people ask me about the show. You may not think you have something in common with an astrophysicist, but I'm going to find that commonality. and we're going to get better because I will venture to say that they're pretty smart people in some way, shape, or form. So why not? The same way they may not think they have something in common with an auditor. We know better because that is like the transferable skill mind right there. But one thing that you've been saying that, and if you want to pivot to something else, that's cool. But you talk about systems and processes and your skills related to that. Can you break down how that can help somebody who isn't system oriented or isn't an auditor, how I could apply that to my day-to-day life?
So I try to hit this with two bookends, So let's start with the first book. If you were to do the math there, even in my story, you would have noticed that I moved. It was Denver that I moved to. So I moved to the Mile High City for my other, Eat, Pray, Love adventure. I had to find myself in the mountaintop. And that's when I put together my first budget. So if you follow that math, that means I got out of debt in 3 years. Graduated school at 22, buried myself in debt, meandered about through life for 8 years and really couldn't even put anything together. And then when I focused and put a system in place, I got out of debt in 3 years. So almost 1/3 of the time. And the story that I'm going to hit, I call this, I'm actually thinking about putting this in another book. And yes, I'm already working on one.
Keep working.
And I call it Tim Duncan. The chapter will be Tim Duncan. And, The Last Dance, hashtag The Last Dance is real popular right now, with Michael Jordan. And I put this in context. First of all, I'm from Texas, And, Robert Horry won. I had to look this up. I actually didn't believe it. When I first Googled, I was like, how many rings did Tim Duncan have? The answer is 5. And one less than Jordan, tied with Kobe. But Tim Duncan ain't got no 10-day story going on called The Last Dance.
We might be asleep by episode 2. You know what I'm saying? Just keep running them highlights.
Yeah, I watch the Graham stories. I get most of my information through Twitter. I just watch the reactions. Right. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's how I watch. And Robert Horry has 7 rings. So he has more rings than Kobe and Michael. So Robert Horry, for those who don't know, is a 3-point god on the Houston Rockets.
Big shot Bob.
Moved over to the Lakers. And I think he did a stint with
I want to say
Lakers,
Sacramento.
Spurs.
He won 2 with Houston, 2 with San Antonio, and 3 with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So that was his ring. That was
a journeyman, if you will. And the reason I bring that up is going back to Tim Duncan, and I saw both of these side by side recently. They were talking about the greatest of all time, the GOAT debates on NBA Twitter.
That's powerful.
And they put up a meme, and it was like hot sauce from like A1, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like 20 million views on this video and 50 million views on that video, crossing over dudes at Rutgers and everything like that. And in total, Tim Duncan's videos was like 6 million.
That's nuts.
Man got 5 rings, right? And fundamentals are boring. Systems are boring. And I start with that story. So we're in the middle of the bookends now, because if you want to be successful and have those 5 rings and still hold up that championship, which in this case might be personal finance, debt free or die trying, or whatever your end goal may be, whatever your championship may be, I would argue that you would need fundamentals. Boring, simple system that you can follow to ensure that you're going to achieve your goal. And so that's going to be what my Tim Duncan is. And that's kind of what I recommend, is a system for success. So the new book right now, and you talked about it, the other one more highlighted my story. The new book focuses on, this is my story, not in chronological order anymore. Here's why it matters. Here's the takeaway from that. Here's the system you should use to be successful. And then here's the call to actions to implement this system. And I got that, regrettably or unfortunately, from being an auditor for 15 years, because that's what I do for a living. My elevator speech on auditing is, people tell me what they want to accomplish. I look at what they're doing. They're never aligned. And then I explain the gap. That's what auditing is.
Yes.
You say you want to do this. You got policies, procedures. Y'all probably got a procedure book, or I look at when you opened it last. I look at when they last opened the policy. It's when it was issued. If it was opened.
Or how about when they write it the day that you were working on site?
right. We getting a little niche now.
Yeah,
What are these guys talking about?
If you're on it out there,
I'm laughing because I'm working on that right now. I'm writing a lot of policies, a lot of standard operating procedures and SOPs, KPIs, and targets. And I came to the realization, I did not even realize that was a skill set. I unfortunately, against my, I've dragged my feet for 15 years. I like it. I like data. I like system. I like processes. And really, this book and or age and maybe some dash of maturity, I was like, I think I got a niche here, man. I think I can help people accomplish their goals by putting systems in place. Not because I'm anything special and not because I don't consider myself to know very much, but I read a lot and I take in a lot of information. And I am really good at I want to get from point A to Z, and I can tell you B through Y really good. And what I noticed over the years, there's a lot of people that talk about point A, and I'm on point B, and they're at point A, and I'm on point C, and I was like, I think I might have something here. So that's what you can get from someone who's been in audit for 15 years. That's what you'll get in this already published book. And that's what you'll hopefully get in this book that is already ruminating in my head, because that's how I work. I write novels in my head. And then people are like, yo, how do you write so many blogs? Because there's 254 Paychecks and Balances. There's 150 podcasts. And it's like, yo, I just need one mic. In this case, I need one keyboard because the story's already written. Get out of my way and let me get it down. So I'm already writing this next book.
I love it, bro. I love it. And if you don't call that book Life's a Niche, I don't know what we're doing here. But that just pops into my head. You know how I am with it. I just throw them all out. And I'm like, yo, please utilize how you utilize. But I need you now, Marcus, that was important. But I need you to pass the message now. You need to please tell us about a time where someone imparted wisdom on you. It could be a quote you read, somebody gave you some wise words, something that you held with you that you carry, that shapes who you are and carry with to this day.
I think I'm gonna go with, and I said I would hit this. I watched too many comedies and callbacks and everything like that. So I foreshadowed to this earlier. So it's the race car. I'm coming back to the race car, my callback.
Yes, sir.
And the 17-inch rims. And I don't recall exactly how old I was. That's always a good start to how important the story is. And I had my eye on this race car, this remote control car. One of the ones you could trick out, battery powered, you charge it for 72 hours, it lasts 30 minutes. One of them, high powered, tricked out remote control cars. And I knew Christmas was coming up. So, I did my usual Christmas routine. I've been like this for a long time. So I cut out the articles. I tracked when it went on sale, and I started showing my parents, I'm trying to subconsciously, put this Santa Claus need to go ahead and hook me up with this remote control
your vision board.
Yeah. And it was like June, systems, know. And at some point, my dad, who ignored me for the first few months, he noticed how much the car was, and he was like, I'm not paying for that. It must have been like $200-$300 or whatever. And he's like, there is no way on God's earth that I'm paying for, or the next earth of this lifetime that you're going to get that car. And I was like, I bet. He said something challenging to me, which is also a mistake because I get the pettiness from my mom's side. And mind you, they're still together, been married 38 years. And he was like, I'll pay half. I was like, bet.
Hey.
And I went hustling around, anything I could do. I was under 16. I got my money up. I came with my half. And so I got this race car. I used it for twice. I don't know, whatever the case was. But the journey that it took, and at some point along that epic journey, my father, who he used to tell me that I had more dollars than cents. And I thought that was a compliment for 10 years. I was in my 20s before I realized he was calling me a dumbass. He's like, you got more dollars than cents and everything like that. I'm thinking he's saying, damn, I'm balling. I got so many dollars and everything.
Word.
Cents, S-E-N-S-E for the people who didn't get that at home, because I didn't either. And he was like, when I was your age, never a good start to a story. He's like, my father, he bought me an apple for Christmas. And I was like, okay. He goes, you know what I said to him? I was like, it was a rhetorical question. I don't even think I said what. And he was like, is this all for me?
Did he also have no feet? He was once jealous of a man with no shoes.
Yeah, I think he walked up a few hills both ways. And my dad, he's full of stories, and this is one of the more epic ones that stuck in my head. But I'm amazed how many lessons I learned from that journey to get that car. I had to budget. I had to work on my finances. I had to beg and please sales and marketing. I had to come up with my first system. I think I had a whole, like you said, a vision board. I had like a sales system. I went to mom's first because mom's was rooting for me to get this car. Sold her on it. And the takeaway from that is to find your remote control car. It's a metaphor, folks. Like find that thing, like you said, that you would pursue for free. I would have done whatever it took to get that remote control car. And then in college, it was 17-inch rims on a car that was probably worth $5,000 that I paid $13,000 for. And then when I graduated, before I got that car, I had wrecked 6 cars preceding it. Totaled them all out. Ooh. I didn't get a scratch on that car. I drove it for 15 years, and that car was my baby. And the next thing that motivated me, this is why I think it's always funny when people are like, oh, you should never buy a car. You put your money in the stock market and everything like that. And I'm talking like this for a reason because I usually got a shirt and a tie. And I'm like, if that's what motivates you, and you done paid the tax man and your bills are paid and your kids are taken care of and there's a roof over your house, buy the car. Buy that thing that excites you. So you asked me what is it that motivates me and why do I write these things? Because I wrote it originally, this was before hashtag Dorona, to show people that it's okay to want. I like money. I chase it all the time. I was working 3 jobs before I even knew how to make money, but I knew I could trade time for work. And for me, it's the thing that will motivate you regardless if it's someone's paying for you. And I saw it recently. It's not my quote. It's Simon Sinek. So y'all can look it up because I'm going to butcher it. But it's something to the effect of when you trade time for work, it's work. But when you are pursuing something because you want to, that's passion. It's the same time passing along the way. That's why I say trust the process is the final chapter of the book, because the time is going to pass on its own. And what I saw there is if this time is going to pass and I'm seeing all these people stuck on point A, I want to get to point Z and I want to get there quickly and I want to get to the next point A because all I do is come up with another goal. Right. All I do is come up with another remote control car. And my newest remote control car, which is now a paperweight with a V8 engine inside of it, is a Dodge Charger with a Hemi in it. The remote control cars just got bigger, but I bought it. It's within my budget. There's a roof over my house. I'm debt free. Like,
spend that money, King.
Yeah. Know what you're worth. Ask for it. And I actually heard this in college. Like, if you didn't help me make it, you don't get to tell me how to spend it.
Talk to him. Talk to him. Yes. Simple. I like that energy. Yeah. That's dope. That's what's up. That's what's up. So part of this journey that I'm on with this show is not only to figure out the skills and the tools that we can use to apply to our daily life, how can we take care of ourselves better so that we can enjoy that daily life and be here to enjoy that life. So body, mind, and soul, what are some things that you do to keep in the best health that you can?
So I would hit this point with, and I haven't gotten into it on this particular show, but we talk a lot about mental health on the podcast at Paychecks and Balances.
Yes, sir.
And effectively, I had, I guess, this is my non-technical term, and I say that for a reason, like a mental breakdown about 11 months to the date ago. And what had happened, I had been searching for work for 2 years and I had 2 job opportunities come in at the same time. There's a whole story about this on the blog. And I had so if you've ever looked for something for 2 years, you've ever hoped for anything for 2 years with 1,034 days or however long that is, you are human. You start to give up. And when I got those 2 opportunities come in and I had gotten 0 opportunities over 2 years, I had the audacity of hope. And I put all my, I didn't realize at the time, mental eggs into one basket, and both got revoked and everything came crashing down. And in that
Damn.
case, what I did not realize is I had really been, I was living the fake it till you make it lifestyle, because the way that I crumbled that particular weekend when that happened, and seeing a couple stories here, and I know that I know what hell's like because I've gone through it at least 3 times, and they're very memorable. And this was another one, and the most recent. There was no way I should have broken down that quickly in a way that I didn't even recognize myself. Like, and you kind of wonder, you ever seen something unfold from the outside, and you're like, I mean, maybe the Rona is a good example, but like, how did it all come crumbling so fast? And
all
like, it
falls
almost felt
down.
like I was watching. It felt like I was watching myself from like the outside. Like, I should not have reached the rock bottom again at that place that quickly,
Right.
based on that one decision going wrong. And when I was able to pull myself out, and I wasn't able to do it alone, I realized that I needed help professionally. Like, I wasn't able to salvage myself from this. I wasn't going to be able to. And I had been looking for a while, just, casually. And when I say a while, I mean like a decade, like at therapy and, mental health service. And I did a Google search here. I read a Psychology Today article there.
Shout out to Dr. Alicia. She dropped that on episode 1, Psychology Today, as one of the resources.
That's actually where I found my therapist. So yes. And I found her, reached out. I'm like, here's all the things going wrong. I don't know what this is like because I've never experienced it before in this manner. Like, but I know I need help, and I narrowed it down to like 3 people. I actually went with the first psychiatrist. I want to be appropriate to her title, that I reached because of the conversation that we had, and I just knew that would be something good for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's mine. So I went to therapy for about 3 to 4 months to work through that issue, and then ultimately get to the place that I am now, where I can walk and stand again on 2 feet.
It's important.
With body, it's actually, I'm going to hit a system because I'm a system guy. The book that I read recently, it's on the website. My review's on the website, but it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he said that every action is a vote. So each day, and I have a list, of course, and I have 3. I'm trying to get it up to 10, but there's 3 things, eventually 10, that I want to do to make a vote for the man that I want to be tomorrow. And all that I want to be is better than the man that I was today. It's a very simple goal. And those 3 things are to read at least 1 positive affirmation a day. And luckily that's easy because there's Instagram memes all over the place. So 25 push-ups a day or to exhaustion. That's one of the more difficult ones to hit, especially during #Dorona. Mm-hmm. And then to read 10 pages a day, not from any book, but from a book or source that will make me better. So those are the 3 things that I try to do to vote for the man that I want to be tomorrow.
That's fire. That's fire, man. Now, I remember you were telling me before that your father's a pastor and you're not really connected, like, organized religion wise, but in terms of the soul, just like having that connection, reading those type of scriptures and things like that, and just keeping aligned. And I think it's really dope that you read as much as you have. Like, I am the ultimate advocate when it comes to you and everything you and Rich do at Paychecks and Balances. I've gone to the site and read the 15 book, like the 15 book article. I ain't read the 15 books, but he gives a great breakdown of every book. Like, it's an extensive review where you can get the gems that you need to get. But of course, if you read the book, you get the full experience. So you can preview the content before you go by. And as a wise laureate poet once say, Marcus did that, so you don't got to go through that. But he definitely did it. And it's wild beneficial. Like, I wouldn't have some of the skills with money and career that I have if it wasn't for these 2 and their podcast. Like, Rich helped me was instrumental in me constructing the resume that eventually got me the job at Bleacher Report. So, and Marcus's debt tips have helped me to pay down a card before it got back up again. But that's not the point. The system worked, right? So I can tell you that I am an advocate. I'm also a client, and these
Appreciate
guys and what they do is impactful, it's purposeful, and it works. So before we get you out of here for the second time, let's go to the cool segment, the icebreaker known as mess around, fill in the blank. We're gonna give you blank, first thing that comes to mind, and we go a little something like this. First, you gonna count on me to bring blank to a house party.
So I thought about changing my answer, but I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna hit you with the same one I did yesterday.
Yes, sir.
In the other timeline. Yeah,
yes.
I'm gonna bring the Ciroc bottles.
Your favorite is peach, right? You said peach.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you with the peach. I'm gonna hit you with the peach.
Yo, peach is good. Peach is good because it doesn't give the head rush that like red berry. Red berry, it feels like you injected it right into my veins. It's a little strong, but peach watermelon was listen.
Yo, I like, and maybe in full disclosure, and maybe he's listening, I am trying to get some bottle deals. You know, we are open to sponsorship.
Hey man, Tori got them for quarantine radio. You know what I'm saying? We follow guidelines over here too. Like, send us some shit.
I drink it on the rocks. So I like drinking liquor. I'm old enough to know now, like, what liquor does to me, and they all have different effects. So let me be very clear. My favorite drink is an old fashioned with a makers or, an aged bourbon. Don't get me wrong. That's my favorite drink.
There it is.
But I don't know where that's going to take me. Like 3 of them in, like,
they're so good though, bro.
It might be 22-year-old Marcus again. I might go wild. It might be more, in slow motion. So I don't know where that's going to take me. Ciroc, I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to be mellow, right on the rocks. It's just like the commercials. Those Ciroc commercials are the most accurate representation of, first of all, disclaimer, drink responsibly and within measure and everything in moderation.
Please don't be like us.
But since we ain't going nowhere anyway, the only place I'm drinking, my happy hour is on the couch. So I know exactly where it's going to take me, slow motion, chill. I'm good. So Ciroc in all the flavors except, I ain't gonna say which except because I'm still trying to get that sponsorship deal.
Word. Do that.
They can even send me the one I don't like.
I gotta cut you off right now so that we keep that sponsorship dream going. So
yes, sir.
I'm most thankful to have blank right now.
My lady. And I say that because for those of you, what's the Luther Vandross? If you can't quarantine with the one you went, quarantine with the one you can't with the one you want, quarantine with the one you with. And so I've had a lot of time to reflect and a lot of time to be regret. And like, I'm grateful that this is the one that I'm quarantined with. Hopefully she has quarantined my heart for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like, yo, I wouldn't have. Could have made it this far with a few, man. You know what I'm saying? Somebody would have had to leave. Somebody would have to go. Like, I would have just had to take my chances with the Rona.
Word.
I've been masked up in my little V8 somewhere. So I'm very grateful for my lady helping me through this experience. She's the one that I took that international travel with. She was right there with me. She was ready to set up a new life in Bali. She was like, what do we got to do with the finances? Let me read the book real quick. So very supportive. I done found a good one, man.
Like, Marcus, I know you better know what to do with this damn money. That podcasting you doing. Shit. We better be all right.
Yeah, we was good.
No doubt. So if you don't listen to blank music, we can't be friends.
90s R&B.
Yo, you are the second person to say that. Shout out to Essence, the essence of she was into it, boy. Yeah. But that's our era right there. So I ain't mad at that. What do you put on to get you in, like, I remember in the previous timeline, you said that was like your pregame music. So what was the one song when you turned it on, you were like, all right, now we can go out?
I don't have a song, actually. It's Jodeci, Diary of a Mad Band. I mean, that got played into the scratches. Like, the scratches wouldn't even let it play no more. Like, you had to wipe it down with alcohol, blowing it a few times just to get it going right. So Diary of a Mad Band with their pants around their knees. And, there's been some tragedy with the Jodeci band and everything like that over the years. But, that's where it goes. The 90s, but 90s Jodeci was mean. It was mean.
So finally, if we play blank during game night, be on my team because we ain't losing.
Ooh. Now, the Texas in me want to say dominoes, but I can't say that because actually another dude, he actually probably listened to the show. He'll come fade me in the streets because he washes me every time. So I'm gonna have to be honest. I'm gonna say Monopoly. So I wear down with attrition. My defense is impregnable. Like, you can't handle me. Like, you can't handle me in Monopoly. Like, so first of all, the game go on forever.
I'm about to say that's an aggressive game night game. That's when you see people on the Monopoly, you like they just run it out the clock until it's time for them to go home because they ain't trying to be here all night. Or they gotta get.
I'd say maybe the next one might be like Uno or something like that. But yeah, I can be beat in Uno, you know.
Right. But
Monopoly I think I'm undefeated. Like, I don't know. Now, mind you, I almost came to fisticuffs over a couple of Monopoly games, and that ended the game. I was always ahead. I always had the most money. Let me even put it out there. Can't nobody say that.
The rent is too damn high, bro. The rent is too damn high.
You know, I've never had a Monopoly game end where the board wasn't flipped up. Like, fuck this. But I tell you, when the board was flipped up, it was Marcus's pieces dancing through the air.
I hear that. 100%, man.
Yes, sir.
Yo, we done, bro. You did your thing. Thank you so much for being a guest. So before we go, let the people know where they can find you, plug any and everything that you have, and I'll just ad-lib.
Cool. So I'm universally branded, the Marcus Garrett, with 2 R's and 2 T's. As you can see here, that's the government name. Yes, and if you visit themarcusgarrett.com, I got 2 free giveaways for every visitor. You can get a free system to establish your repayment plan. I give that away for free because I believe it's just that important. Y'all can have it for free. It's right out of the book. Tells you exact call to actions to establish your plan to become debt free. And then I also throw in a guide because it was one of our most popular articles on Paychecks and Balances, but I'm also long-winded, as you probably noticed through this episode. And I got it down to 1 page, how much debt you can afford on a $30,000, $50,000, or $100,000 salary. I'll give you both for free at themarcusgarrett.com.
No doubt. And also follow him at Paychecks and Balances everywhere where you listen to podcasts. If you want a beneficial podcast in your life where you're learning stuff, and you're learning about money and career, I'm telling you, not only are they great on their own, the guests that they bring in are phenomenal, and they're very diverse, a very wide range. If you don't come out of that learning something, then we got to talk about how you learn. Just saying. I'm gonna jump in real quick because Jeff is you being humble too, man. Actually, Jeff has one of the most popular, most downloaded episodes. So you find yourself over there on Paychecks and Balances. You don't know where to go. Just type in Jeff's name and you'll hear one of the most powerful, most fan favorite, most heavily downloaded. I ain't got the Don King, but you know, a lot of other words that rhyme. Check out his episode. Yeah, I wasn't. All jokes aside, I wasn't gonna bring that up, but because that was literally super. I was super humble. Like when y'all hit me, because we're friends in real life, so like they hit me on the side, like, yo, bro, your podcast was the most downloaded podcast. Like we're not even talking about money. It's more so on the career side about how I made the career change into media. So if you want to know a little bit more about myself, you can listen to that podcast and hear that journey. I'm sure hopefully it's something that I can tell and update as we go on. But that was it was a honor to be able to tell that story with them because they literally saw my evolution and my journey for years. They saw where I was and saw where I got to. So it's nothing but love, bro. Nothing but love with that. And at Pay Balances, I think y'all converted Pay Balances to all of them now, right?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. Again, you find Paychecks and Balances as far as the website. It'll get you everywhere you need to go.
Yes, sir. So thank you once again for joining us, man. And that does it for another episode of Pass the Message. Please sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Find podcasts on all podcast platforms, but look specifically for mine. Pass the Message. You can find it on every podcast platform. Be sure to subscribe to it because I'll take you behind the curtain for a second. I usually upload it before I promote that it's published. So you'll more than likely get the podcast the night before I actually publicize when it's dropping. So if you subscribe, you'll be on time. You subscribe to YouTube, you'll be on time too. Follow us at Follow us at Pay Balances because those are my peoples too. But follow me at Pass Message Show. Pass Message Show on Instagram, Pass Message Show on Twitter. You can follow me at Jeff J Says on all social media. And I will leave you with this. Learning knowledge is cool. Applying it is even better. Sharing it is the best way because if you're not building up your community, you're leaving it behind. So take these words home, think it through, and when you're done, pass the message.